Hello, it's Lee again from Akathame. Thanks for joining me. So we are going to officially kick off the career management series of videos to help you get to where you want to be and reach your potential. And I call that Akathame. So when you reach your potential, you have reached Akathame. And Akathame, in case you didn't know, is the combination of two words, Akasha, which is energy from the sky, and Athame, which is a tool used to direct energy. So together it's directed energy. And that is what we do when we manage careers as professional talent agencies, or when we define a workforce solution. Every bit of that workforce solution is created by directing specific energy towards the outcome, right, of whatever that needs to be. And it's all human resources based. So let's talk about the first thing you want to do in career management is know who you are. So the first series of videos is going to be all about identifying who you are. The first question to ask yourself is, are you an employee or are you a provider? And what's the difference? And let me start by saying that there is nothing wrong with being an employee. There is nothing wrong with being a provider. And there is nothing wrong with moving between provider and employee. So let's start with what an employee is. Employee is typically someone who is hired to do a certain job. They do that job and then that's it. They don't really care about how that job fits in with the rest of the company. They don't really track what the results are. They don't of their work necessarily. They just go and do the job and they go home and that's it. And in my family, as we call it, basta. So that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. An employee works for an employer. That employer is that employee's boss. There is no, a thin line. It is a very clear line between employer and boss, and that's all there is to it. Again, nothing wrong with having a boss. The next option of the next way to think about working is the client and provider, right? So a provider inside a company, you might even think of them as consultants that are hired from the outside. So a provider can also be on the full-time payroll, but they look at things differently. They walk into a company and they're like, okay, this man or woman hired me to do something. So something that they're doing over here is really important to the company, and I want to know what my part is in helping them achieve what they need to achieve for their boss. And so therefore, a provider is very interested about not just what they do and how they do it, but they really pay close attention to outcomes and impact because they want to make a difference in the company. They truly go in there and say, I am going to make a difference. You're going to know I have been here. The provider does not look at their manager, which is still their manager. Technically, on an org chart, you will see that, vertical of who reports into who. You could also call them a boss, but that provider does not look at that manager as a boss. That provider looks at that manager as a business partner or a customer. Completely different mindset. So when that person, that manager, comes to a provider, the manager will more often than not say, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think? If they're coming to an employee, that manager will go to the employee and say, this is what I need you to do and get it, blah, 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 right? Now, the same can hold true of a client and a provider. A client will come to a provider and say, this is what I need. Here's the difference. The provider will confirm not just what the client needs. They may suggest a different solution to get a better outcome, or they may say, great, are you aware that if I do it this way, this is what you're going to expect? Are we agreeing that this is what you want? So there's always a dialogue there, right? For me, that's really exciting. And also know this, again, let me emphasize this. There is nothing wrong with being an employee, and there is nothing wrong with reporting to a boss. That is career management. There is a place where that is how you're managing your career, and that's just fine. But before you work with a career coach, before you work with, before you even take another class, you need to think to yourself, why am I learning this? What am I trying to get out of this career coach? What am I trying to get out of my career? What mark do I want to leave when I retire? And do I want to be an employee and do my job great and go home at the end of the day and that's it? Or do I want to go in and really, know what I've done in terms of results? So here's your homework assignment. So you're going to get a journal, and there's going to be an assignment after every one of these little videos. You're going to journal and write down, are you an employee or are you a provider? And then prove to yourself that why you're an employee versus a provider. And do you want to stay an employee? Do you want to become a provider? Or is there a shift that's happening and you need to go from provider to employee? Again, nothing wrong with either. You just need to know how you work, right? How you work. Future videos, we're going to get deeper down into who you are and how you do it and why. Okay, let's start with that. And if you want to run that past me, you can always email me. My email address is on the website and on the LinkedIn page and everywhere else on the planet. Good luck and thanks for attending. Bye.